So we're recording now. So we'll start seated as we do. And just inviting your spine to kind of have to work a little harder. You want to pull away from the chair so you're not leaning back and kind of slumping. We want to find our sitting bones underneath us. So in general, that means bringing your weight forward. And then make sure your feet are in line with your knees. And then move your hands a little bit closer to your torso so that your shoulders are moving back and they're hopefully in line with your hips. And make sure your skull is right above your spine and that your chin isn't tilting down or up. It's just simply level with the floor. And drop your shoulders away from your ears. Just giving yourself a moment to come into your body. And then if you feel like you can remain present, close your eyes. Otherwise, just soften your gaze. And I just want you to start to pay attention to your breathing without changing it at all. Just noticing the breaths moving in and moving out. You might notice certain aspects, such as the rhythm of your breathing, the ratio, how long your inhale is versus your exhale. You might notice the temperature of the breath as it enters and leaves the space of the nostrils. You might notice a pathway the breath takes inside your body, where it moves in and out of, and also where it doesn't. You might notice movement, the belly, perhaps the chest. Just paying attention to these finer points of our breath is an easy way to align ourselves with presence. And this is the only way to start a practice so that we can truly sense how we are arriving to our practice. And that can be in terms of the energy level, the mental state, the emotional state, the physical state. And try to replace any judgments you have just with simple interest, curiosity. There's no wrong answers to whatever shows up here. It is what it is. And as you feel ready, joining your hands together in front of your heart. Let's take a deep breath in here, and on an exhale, bowing your head toward your heart. Just imagine integrating brain cells with heart cells. And as you're ready, lifting your head, letting your eyes come open. You can release your hands. And welcome, everybody. Happy to be here. This is our 6th class of the series, and as I hope you know, we're continuing the class as a drop-in. So I feel free to come and go, and hopefully more coming than going, and request links as you need to. So we're going to be coming into the 6 actions of the spine, and I was going to do it in a very fluid way today as another option for you to practice. So it's going to be lateral movement. So we're going to raise the right arm, and you can just kind of catch on. Don't worry if you don't get it all right away, but you're going to inhale here, and your exhale, you'll lengthen to the side. Inhale, you're going to come back out. Exhale, bring the hand down. Inhale, bring the left arm up. Exhale, lengthen to the right. And keep going like this. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. And if your rhythm isn't my rhythm, make sure you're abiding by your own breathing rhythm. Don't try to sync up with mine. Be authentic to yourself, even if you don't match the group. I like to say we're not a synchronized yoga team. We are individuals doing yoga. So Exhale into that stretch, inhale to come out of it. Just do a couple more here. And if your shoulder has issues, you can always modify the arm, bringing the elbow a little lower than the shoulder line, which can help relieve any symptoms of angry shoulders. And so the body really likes repetition and re-entry, so this can be a nice way to practice. You can come down with both arms now. We're going to prepare for twisting, and we'll do it very similarly, just kind of repeating a bunch of twists from left to right. So on the inhale, raise the arms. On the exhale, turn to your right. Your left hand finds your right thigh, and you're just going to take one exhale here. Inhale, come up with the arms, and exhale, right hand to left thigh. Left hand can just touch the chair. Finish one out breath. And just keep going like this. We're inhaling up through the middle and over to the side on the exhale. And as we repeat, you might notice, looks like my mom found her way, you might notice that you get a little deeper each time. But you don't have to force this. It will come as you repeat, as you start to kind of lubricate your spine and start to get a little bit of those cobwebs swept out of the body. Let's do two more, one to each side. Inhaling, arms up. Exhale into that big, juicy twist. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, finishing there. Good. So inhale, you can raise the arms. Now exhale, bring the arms down. Find some of the chair behind you. And on an exhale, you're going to lift your heart and look up. And then you can go ahead and inhale, pull your navel toward your spine, grab your knees, empty all your breath. So we're going to go through the last two actions of the spine, which are extending the spine, which is the back bend word, and flexing the spine, which is the forward bend word. So it's best to exhale in the forward bend. That's when the stomach likes to contract. Best to inhale in the back bend when the stomach is really wide open. So if you can start to coordinate exhaling as you're rounding your back and hollowing your belly, inhaling as you're arching your back and opening the diaphragm. We'll just do a few more on your own. Don't worry if you feel a little bit like a machine that needs oil, or like you're not getting a lot of range of motion. Those are judgments. Again, try to be curious rather than judgmental, and try to be accepting. Let's do two more. So that means two more back bends and two more forward bends. And after your next breath in or out, depending on where you are, find your way back to a nice neutral position. Take a moment, see how you feel, and then as you're ready, we're going to stand up. We're going to keep warming up, but from a standing position. And I'm going to have you work with the seat of the chair. So you can face that chair seat. I'm just going to angle my camera a little bit differently here. You're going to face that chair seat, and you're going to be kind of in a tabletop position. So your arms are right under your shoulders, your feet are right under your hips, and we're going to do that back bending and forward bending in a different way here. So what you just did in a different orientation. So on your exhale, you're going to bend your knees and look for your belly button. And on an inhale, straighten your legs, arch your back and look forward. Exhale, bend the knees, look toward the navel, hollow the belly. Inhale. And just try to remember that our exhale is a lot longer than we usually allow time for. So feel free to really follow the breath out as long as you're breathing out. Let's do three more like this. And when you lengthen into the back bend, connect the dots of the tailbone all the way up to the very top of your head. So you have a nice full extension of your spine. Last one here. When you're back to your long arms, your straight legs, you can just stay there. And we're going to do kidney squeeze, which is also an outer hip opener. So you're gonna roll your hips to the left, but you're gonna look over to your outer right hip. And if you think about your spine here, it should look like a crescent moon. If you were hovering over your body, that's what you would see, a crescent moon shape to your spine. So feel the outer right hip opening, but also notice the left kidney is getting compressed. This is a massage for that organ. It's a way to detox the kidney. And some people consider the kidneys our battery packs. If we have sluggish kidneys, we feel sluggish. So doing massage of that organ can help kind of invigorate, detox, and help us feel less sluggish. So go ahead and roll your hips to the right. Look to the left as much as you can. And rather than moving quickly here, we're staying for a few breaths on each side. So just holding it. You might notice the outer hip has a lot to say. A lot of us have a lot of glued up connective tissue there and deeper into the tissue as well. We are pretty tight for a lot of us in the outer hips. Okay, so just do a few more, like you're wagging your tail. Give it some good breaths. And the next time you come out of whatever side you're on, you can just stay centered. And we're going to practice a kind of a stabilizing balance. This is a sunbird. So your legs should be right under your wrists should be in line with your shoulders. You can be on your knuckles if your wrists are bothered that way. And we're going to extend the left leg straight behind us so it's level with the floor. You have to use your stomach muscles to support the weight of the leg so it's not dangling off your back and causing your back to get angry. So this might be where you are. You might keep both hands down. If you're able to free up one of your hands, have it be the right arm so that you feel kind of a complementing horizontal limbs. You have right arm up, left leg up. And make sure you're giving it some breath, that you're not holding your breath. Sometimes we have to retrain ourselves. We stop breathing when we have a little bit of stress. And then we will have to reprogram ourselves to actually breathe. Replace your hand. If you did lift it, lower your leg. And then as you're ready, you can try to extend the right leg. And if you don't make it to that completely level with the floor position, feel free to just hold the leg at whatever level you're able to maintain. Lift your stomach muscles toward your back. Maybe free up your left arm and give it some good breath. And I want you to feel that your legs that are parallel with the floor are your limbs, not just your legs. They're just as important to what you're doing as the standing leg and that standing arm. Go ahead and bring the hand down if you lifted the arm away, lower the foot. And now I'm going to have you walk back so that you start to become more angled in your torso and arms. This is our chair version of downward dog. Attempting to create one line from your fingertips to your hips. So every time you exhale, try to sink the shoulder blades toward the chest. Attempt to fully straighten your legs, and that might mean you're still bent knees. But attempt to elongate the legs as much as you can. And let your head simply start to fall through the space of the arms. You don't need to be rigid in your neck. Let your neck relax and surrender. Why don't you take 5 deep breaths here. And now slowly begin to look forward and walk yourself toward the chair. And come up. And take the tall part of the chair and place it behind you. So the tall part of the chair is behind you. We're going to practice our standing mountain pose. So this is one of the most fundamental standing poses, and A lot of the actions involved show up in all the other standing poses. So it's a very important pose to work on. And it doesn't look like a whole lot, but if you're doing it right, most every part of the body is on duty. So first of all, if you can join your legs and feet, you want to do that. Otherwise, keep up to hip distance spacing. I want your fingertips to find the chair, the high part of the chair, so that your shoulders move back. For most of us, that needs to happen to correct our deformities because we have so many screens and windshields and computers, yada, yada. So we have to bring the shoulders back. And when something goes back, something has to come forward. So take your tailbone toward the front body. See if you can bring your thighs back, front to back. So imagine the backs of your thighs absorbing the fronts of your thighs. And then imagine that the buttocks are moving forward. So there's all these kind of complementing actions in the body. Now, once you have the shoulders where they should be, you can release the chair, and hopefully your thumbs end up kind of right alongside the centers of the outer hips or thighs. So you're not in that knuckle dragger position anymore. You have really forward chest, shoulders sitting back. Your skull, again, is right above the spine. So you might imagine your spine is moving up through the very center of your skull. That can be a helpful image. Sometimes the image of your face being absorbed by the back of the head is also subtle enough to get us to move the head to alignment. And then if you're able to support the balance, close your eyes. Otherwise, just soften your eyes and sense that you're growing deep roots out of your feet. And also sense you're extending up through the very top of your head at the same time. So we want to sense we don't end where the boundary of the body is. We want to continue. And this should give us a little more stability. Holding for a few more breaths. We don't want to be overly rigid, but we want to perfect these certain firmnesses in the body that are required to keep the pose really in integrity. So it creates an outer body firmness, and we should maybe feel a little more spacious inside as a result. Good. Now let your eyes blink open and shake your limbs out. Your limbs were all just very active, so especially the legs, just give them a chance to kick away some stuck energy if you feel a little dull in your legs or a little tired. And then you're going to turn your chair to come in front of you as support for tree pose. Welcome, Shar. I thought it was my mom because she's letter C as well. I'm sorry for my mom because she's been trying to get on this class. So we'll have to do a Geek Squad house call maybe, see what's going on with her computer. All right, so we're gonna stack the right heel alongside the left leg, but keep your right toes down. The chair is there because not only it's support for your hands and balance, but hopefully it's touching part of you and you can feel even contact. Because what tends to happen here is whatever knee is bent, whatever side that is, rotates back. So in this case, I want you to really keep the idea of your right thigh or whatever's touching the chair to stay pressing into the chair, okay? So you're gonna try to direct your right knee to the side, shoulders back just like they were in mountain pose, and sucking the outer left hip bone in because we do tend to push out there. So I want you to pull it in. You might think about your left inner thigh as a continuation of your spine, which could be a helpful idea. And then if you're able to let go of the chair, you might bring your hands together in front of your heart. You might be able to raise the arms all the way up overhead and pick some object to look at that's straight across the room, level with your gaze. So on the horizon. And this helps your spine stay neutral. Neutral spine keeps us more steady. If you look up, we tend to arch. If you look down, we tend to round. So looking straight ahead. But then looking forward, I want you to pull your attention back inside your body. You're not staring at something and thinking, oh, there's a drawer. You're pulling your attention back inside your body. Okay, shoulders stay rooted into the torso if your arms are up. 2 more breaths. The idea is never for movement to cease. That will never happen. It's to start to respond to the movement more intelligently. So let your hands come down if they were up. Take hold of the chair for support, step down with the right foot again, kick out your left leg so you're not feeling tired and starting the second side feeling tired. We don't want that. So same thing other side, but we want to clear the mind because oftentimes the sides of the body are not synced up. They are doing their own thing. So you're going to stack the left heel against the right leg, toes stay on the floor. Pull your right hip bone into midline. Try to direct your left knee to the side and try to keep even contact of your, whatever's touching your chair. Keep it even, especially the left leg. Shoulders back, and then maybe the hands can move up to the heart center. Maybe the arms come all the way up. And I forgot to mention on the other side, but if you're able to lift your foot from the floor, that's always an option. But we want to have the steadiness before we do so. We don't want to lift the foot and have everything topple. Good. 2 more breaths. This is a good pose to start a standing practice because it helps us cultivate attention. All right, and then start to deconstruct your pose backwards. As far as you took it, you'll bring the arms down. You'll bring your hands to the chair. You'll step down with the left foot. You'll shake out your right leg. Maybe your left leg wants to be shooken as well. So just take care of the needful. Your body is always talking to you. And now we're going to work with the chair seat to the right side. So I have found with over time that sometimes for triangle pose, the seat is a little too low to get the hand onto. So I want you to know you have a couple options. You could add a block to add some height there. You might not know yet what's going to happen. So I just want you to know these things in advance. You could add some height there, or you could work with the higher part of the chair. So there's always ways to Goldilocks it, make it your customized prop. Okay, so we're going to step wide, meaning your right toes are probably somewhere underneath the chair. Your left foot is stepping off to the left, and your left toes are going to turn in. So your left toes are turning to the right. That puts us in a very awkward position. You're going to attempt to rotate your torso from the right to the left so that you keep your shoulders and hips broad to the long edge of the mat. Legs are firm, meaning you're squeezing your thigh muscles. If someone grabbed your kneecap, it wouldn't wobble around. All right, let's raise the arms. Open the arms. And then rotate from your elbows to your fingertips so that your upper arm stays kind of active. Inhale here. And on your exhale, you're going to extend your torso to the right until your hand comes down onto whatever setting you need so that you can sustain the pose and you can keep a sense of spaciousness to your right side, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna have you put your hand on your hip for now, this top arm, hand on your hip, so that you can do a little work down below. So roll your right buttock toward the camera, toward me. That's gonna help you roll your left hip back and help your torso continue to turn from right to left. Don't forget that the crown of the head represents the beautiful extension of your spine. So in other words, I don't want to see your head dropping because we forgot about the rest of the extension of the spine. So keep your head shooting up at a diagonal angle toward the ceiling. And then once you feel like you have good roots beneath you, then the arm goes up. And it should add to a good sensation in the pose. It should not feel like you just made it more difficult. So when we're ready for these things, the body will respond positively. And if you feel like this just kind of ruined your pose, bring your hand back to your hip. We have to really kind of sense our way in these poses. Okay, 2 more breaths. Even though you're holding a pose, you're never static. You're keeping it alive with all these wise actions that we talk about, and also with the breath. On the inhale, I want you to lift yourself out of the pose. So use your top arm, use the top of your head. You're using that inhale as well. And then you can go ahead and relax the arms. Find a way to bring your feet together, and you're going to move your chair to be to your left side. So again, whatever height you need to work with, only you would know that. Ideally, the amount of space between your feet is equivalent to one of your own legs. I know that's difficult for people because a lot of us are tight in the inner thighs, but just knowing that down the road, we're trying to open that space to create this equilateral triangle shape with our legs. All right, so the left foot is under the chair, the left toes are pointing to the left, the right toes are also slightly pointing to the left. Your torso is going to move from left to right now so that we have hips and shoulders pointing to this broad side of the mat. And then we're going to inhale and raise the arms. And really lengthen yourself, lift yourself up that way. Open your arms. And then move from your elbows to your fingertips, palms down. Inhale here. And then exhale, lengthening to the left. Reaching, reaching, reaching. Bring the hand down underneath your shoulder. Take your right hand to your hip for now. Roll your left buttock toward me, which will help move your right hip back. Take your head slightly farther back as well. Okay, then once you sense you're ready for it, then the right arm goes up. Maybe you take it up and you realize that wasn't a good change and you bring it back down. Okay, so I want you to take 5 good breaths here. Keep your legs firm. Your left knee will try to rotate in, so I want you to gently maneuver the flesh of your left thigh from the inner thigh to the outer thigh to keep your knee pointing at your toes. Good. The next time you breathe in, really anchor into your right heel, lift through your top arm, lift through the top of your head, use your inhale. Good, you came out of it, good. And then bring the toes to point forward, you can lower the arms. And you might heel toe walk your feet in. We're going to just hold a mountain pose just for a couple breaths just to see how that landed in the body as far as breath, energy, sensation. This is how we come to know these poses. So we come to know them with kind of their signature, the energy, residue, whatever you want to call it. And again, you don't have to close the eyes, especially if that makes you unstable, but try to soften your eyes. So keep your attention pulled inside. All right, good. So we're going to have a quick sit and just kind of go over the gate pose actions, which elongate the inner thighs. And we'll apply that to a standing pose, Warrior Two. So you can just have your left knee kind of right in front of you as you did for seated kind of centering moment. And then your right knee will be moving off to the side. You want to have your right heel underneath your right knee. And then you're going to take the pressure of your right hand against your inner right knee. So you're kind of pushing into that inner right knee so that the knee doesn't drop in, which it likes to do. And you're going to rotate your chest and your torso and your belly and your abdomen, all of it, from the right to the left. And hopefully you're feeling the right inner thigh saying hello. So just take a few more breaths here. And then we're going to gently release all of that and just switch it over. So we're just going to do both sides and then we'll stand up. Okay, so now the left knee is off to the side, the right knee is forward, left hand is pressurizing the inner left knee. And as you turn away from the left side with the torso, hopefully you're getting a little elongation in your left inner thigh. And once you feel that, make sure you're breathing. That's always the secret ingredient, the breath. It's not that secret, but it is a good thing to remind us about. 2 more of those breaths. Okay, and then go ahead and gently release. You can step your foot back in front of you and then you can bring yourself up. Okay, so then we're going to do this Warrior Two a couple of ways. The first way is with the hands being supported in front of us. You can bring your chair right in front of you, the higher part of the chair in front of you. And you'll go back to stepping wide. And then you're gonna take your right toes out. And the movement of the toes out should come from the very root of your thigh. It's not just about moving your toes. So you wanna feel the whole thigh turn. And then you're gonna take those left toes in again. All right. So your hands are here on the chair. You're having to do that work of turning your torso from right to left. We're gonna exhale and take the knee over the ankle. And you're gonna inhale and straighten. Okay, so it's pretty simple, but I'm gonna add a few just ideas as you do this. So exhale, knee bends. Inhale, you straighten. So one idea is imagine you have a book on the top of your head. If you can see yourself on camera, we wanna kind of see that the crown of the head is not moving a whole lot. Okay, so you're keeping the torso very upright. I don't want you to lean to the right every time you bend your knee. I don't want you to do this. Okay, so another concept is to push down through the foot to straighten the leg and to lift the spine as you bend the knee. So this is where we start to talk about working with kind of these ideas of opposition. So keep your spine light as you bend your knee. Push the foot down to straighten the leg. I'll do it a few more times. Light spine and the heavy foot. The next time that you take the knee above the ankle, you're gonna stay there. Try to perfect the shoulders and hips really pointing squarely at the broad side of the mat. Then I want you to peek at your right knee. Hopefully it's looking at your toes and it's not caving in. So if you're not seeing your knee looking at your toes, move it into position where it is looking at your toes. That's that same elongation of the inner thigh feeling you just had. Either one or both arms are going to extend out sideways, and then you're going to look over your right fingertips. As you look to the right, keep turning your torso to the left. Breathe. Keep your spine light. Good. Now take the chair again in your hands, push down through the foot to straighten the leg, and you're going to switch to the left toes out, right toes in. Good. And begin to exhale, bend the knee, and inhale to straighten. Exhale, light spine. Inhale, push the foot into the floor. We call this root to rise. You have to go down to go up. Okay, watch that you're holding that imaginary book on your head. It's not flopping off to the left. Let's do 3 more. And on that third one, you're just gonna hold it. Once you're there, you can hold that third one. And that's when you should just take a peek at the relationship of your knee and your toes. Once you get the knee where it goes, your torso probably turned, and we don't want that, remember? So keep your knee where it belongs, turn your torso from left to right. Stretch one or both arms out. And then softly look over the left fingertips. Continuing to rotate your spine from left to right. Couple deep breaths, keep the spine light. And go back to taking the support of the chair, pressing into the foot to straighten the leg. Turn the toes forward and then walk the toes in so that you're back in mountain pose. You can keep the chair where it is. You might use it, you might not, but I want you to just take about 30 seconds in mountain pose. Eyes closed or just a softened gaze. And just notice as much as you can, feeling, breath, energy, mind. Maybe there's more stability in the body. That's a sign that the yoga is working. And if it's still not stable or you're very wobbly, doesn't mean it doesn't work, it's just more practice is needed, more yoga is needed. Okay. So now the next pose we do is going to kind of marry triangle pose and warrior two, so the previous 2 poses. It's going to kind of put them together. So work with the chair seat to your right. This is side angle pose. Are we having fun yet? Okay. So go back to your wide stance. And you remember, because we've done it several times now, so right toes out, left toes slightly turned in, the torso turning back to the left to kind of square it up. We're going to take the knee over the ankle as we've done for that warrior two. Remember, your knee has to press toward the small toe to keep it from drooping toward the big toe. So keep magnetizing the knee toward the small toe. We're going to take the arms up now and open like we did for triangle. Rotate palms down. Inhale here. And on your exhale, lengthen to the right, just like you did for triangle, but now the knee is bent, so it's a little different. Your hand goes back to that chair, seat, block, the taller part, whatever you're working with. Left hand comes to the hip so that we can kind of refine what we have so far. Try to roll your right buttock toward me. Your left hip rolls back. And then the finishing piece here is this top arm. So it's not a vertical arm, but we start with a vertical arm. So take the vertical arm up, turn your left palm to face right, and then try to bring your left biceps next to your left ear. And as you can see, we've created this diagonal slash, which is the namesake for the pose, which is side angle pose. You can truly see this side angle in action. Okay, so just a few breaths here. These look great. Now, can you fix the legs, meaning don't let them change as you inhale? See if you can come into warrior two. Nice, beautiful. And then go ahead and push the floor away to straighten the leg. You can turn your toes forward, free the hands to your hips. Try to narrow the stance so that you can switch your chair to your other side. So you'll find your wide stance, whatever height of chair you're working with, make sure that's ready to go. And you're going to bend that knee and put it above the ankle as best you can. You might even look at the relationship of the knee to the toes just to make sure your knee is tracking with the toes. We'll take the arms up and open, rotating elbows to fingertips. Inhale here, exhale, you're going to lengthen the torso to the left, placing the hand down in line with your shoulder. For now, the right hand stays on the hip. Try to move your left buttock toward the front body. Your right hip rolls back, your head might move back slightly. And then as you're ready, taking that right arm up, turning from the shoulder to palm facing left, and aligning the biceps with the ear. Okay, as many breaths as you can here. We'll say 5 total if you can get there. And you can always work with your hand on your hip if the elevated arm is not working for you. So stabilize your legs. You're going to keep them there on the in-breath. See if you can come back to a warrior two position. Beautiful work. And then push down through the left foot to straighten. Help your toes point forward. You can relax your hands. Narrow your stance. So heels and toes, heels and toes, heels and toes. And then mountain pose. Use the chair if you need it. Shoulders back. Remember your thumbs are kind of right outside the centers of the outer hips. We're not showing our knuckles. We're not hanging forward in the shoulders. Lower the gaze, close the eyes, and just sense the pose. This pose is the litmus test really over the course of a practice because this pose becomes more and more steady as we continue doing these various poses. And no judgment if you're still feeling quite wobbly, so that's just is what it is. And then we'll go and open the eyes. Just shake yourself out. Kick those legs a little bit. Okay, we are going to go through 2 more poses quickly, not to rush things, but I did want to touch upon warrior 1 and 3. Since we did 2, we might as well do the other 2. We did warrior 2. So there's 3 warrior poses. We just did warrior 2. We're going to cover warrior 1 and warrior 3. So we're going to work with the higher part of the chair, and you're going to now face it. Your right foot is under the chair, your left foot is stepping back, and you're going to need enough space that you're able to take a right knee bend. So I don't want you knocking into the chair, or just kind of adjust yourself. The chair is there for stability because we really want to perfect kind of the roots of the pose before we worry about the upper body. So today I thought we would just kind of explore the lower half. So even though you're reaching for the chair, put your shoulders back. Don't let your shoulders round forward. Move your tailbone into the body. This is a very important action. So if you think about your pelvic bowl, for most of us, it's slopping out the front rim. We have to adjust the front rim of the pelvis up, like you're drinking a big bowl of soup or something. That's going to help put your torso back upright. You guys look great, by the way. Okay, take a few breaths looking onto the horizon line. You might, just for fun, include an elevated or raised left arm. Okay, let's take 5 breaths. Do your best to completely straighten your left leg. Good. And go ahead and bring your hand back down if you did take it up. And now you're going to transition. So you're going to bring your right foot underneath you. So it's a straight up and down leg. You might have to adjust your chair forward. And you're going to take your left big toes back. On an exhale, lift the left leg as you lower the torso. The Warrior 3 looks like a capital letter T in its full kind of expression, but don't worry if you're still kind of angling the leg down and the torso up. You'll get there one day. So you don't want to be whizzing on the fire hydrant. Make sure you're lowering your left hip and lifting your right hip. So we want to imagine we could hold a little teacup on the lower back here. Good. On an in-breath, you can lower the leg and lift the torso. Step your feet underneath you and give your legs a little shake. So that was Warrior 1, Warrior 3. One day, that pose you just did, you're free-handed. Your arms extend in front of you without support. So the chair is just kind of giving you that extra stabilization. So left side, same thing. The left foot is forward, the right foot is back. The left knee is bent. One day it's a 90-degree relationship of the thigh and the lower leg. And even though you're reaching forward for the chair, roll the shoulders back, move the tailbone in. That was a good adjustment. I saw some of you do. And try to fully straighten your right leg. And I want you to bring awareness to your right arch of your foot, the arch of the right foot. Do you have one? If not, try to bring the outer right foot a little more to the floor. We want to protect that arch. We don't want to collapse it or crush it. Okay, a couple breaths. Maybe raise the right arm just to kind of feel that full expression of Warrior 1. This is really good for tight hip flexors. Go ahead and touch the chair if you did raise the arm. Now we're going to transition. There's no wrong way to do it as long as you're safe. You step forward with the right foot a little bit, adjust the chair forward. We want to keep our left leg, our vertical standing leg. Keep your hips really compact, squeezing together. And on an exhale, raise the right leg as you adjust the torso down to that capital letter T shape. You'll have to do some work to point your right toes down because they like to fly out to the side. How do we do that? Think about lifting the inner right thigh up toward the ceiling. Engage your stomach muscles. You don't want to dangle dead weight off the back. Use your core. Good. And then go ahead and lift your torso, lower your right foot. And for the last time, we'll take mountain pose. So chair or no chair, you decide. Put yourself back in that standing mountain pose. You don't have to shrink your breath down or quiet it down. Try to be a big enough container for your breath as it is right now. It might be fast, you might be panting, might be uneven, it might be ragged. It'll just be enough, big enough container for that breath to move through. And eventually it will become smooth again. Okay, so we'll take a quieting pose with the seat of the chair for support, stepping wide. So when you step wide, you want your toes directly in front of your heels. And we want our big toes on the same line. We don't want to be diagonally with the feet. And then you want to attempt to turn the inner thighs out so that your knees are looking at your toes and not looking at each other. So it's a movement of the flesh without turning the feet. Good. Now keep your feet balanced, meaning you're not all on your heels, you're not clinging on your toes, your weight is centered over your feet. You're gonna let your head come down somehow, whether you're using your arms or just kind of bending your elbows. Try to relax the weight of the head down. It might be supported, it might just be dangling, but do your best to relax the neck. Try to keep your thigh muscles firm because the legs really act like our stems, our roots. So we want to keep the legs firm and active throughout so that the torso can be more passive and the skull and the brain can be more passive. Make sure you see little arches in your feet here. If you don't, try to bring some weight to the outer feet. About 5 more breaths. And go ahead and start to lift your head. Slowly, you're going to bring yourself out of it. Walk the feet together. And then we're going to come back to sitting in the chair. And if you have your strap or your bathrobe tie, we're going to use that now just to kind of touch upon the hand to big toe poses that we did last week, if you were here or did the class recording. And if you don't have that bathrobe tie or strap yet, you can always get away with just holding your thigh from underneath and working like that until you are able to find something, some object in your house that would work. So go ahead and take hold of your right foot with your strap. And then you're going to wrap your hands at least once so you don't have to waste so much energy squeezing the strap. Wrap your hands usually over the knuckles or right above the knuckles. Your left foot can just be right underneath your left knee. On an exhale, pick up the right foot. And keep your weight balanced over your sitting bones. So we don't want to just raise the leg and collapse the spine. We want to have both. We want a nice tall spine. We want a nice lifted leg. So you have to find the perfect kind of sweet spot where you can have both. Once your thigh is as elevated as it's going to be, you're going to start to extend your right leg. But don't let your shoulders come forward. Keep pulling on your strap so that your shoulders sit back, your chest stays forward. Find your straightest leg, which still might be bent. That's okay. Breathe. Just take a few more breaths here. Keep yourself over your sitting bones, which means you have to keep your weight forward. Good. And then slowly bend the knee. Step down. Move your strap to the other side. Okay. Elbows are kind of locked in at your sides. Lift the leg. Beyond those sharp, pointy bones in your butt, the ischial tuberosities. Staying on those, can you bring that thigh higher? If not, that's okay. Just find your perfect height and then extend the leg. It will help to engage your stomach muscles. Think about corseting the muscles inward toward the mid-body. especially across the hip bone line where the transverse abdominals are. And then lift through the top of your head. Maybe lift your gaze because we're angled back. So we want our gaze to match that. It's all just geometry. Okay, so lift your gaze slightly so you're not drooping your spine. 2 more breaths. And then go ahead and bend the knee. Step down. So just quickly, I'm going to add to this week, and then we're going to be taking our final resting pose. So we're going to be lifting the right foot again, but you're going to be holding both ends of your strap in your left hand. Okay. So just wrap both ends of the strap over the left knuckles. And then you can raise the leg again. Extend the leg. And then bring your right hand onto your right hip and turn your chest to face the right. So this is the revolving version of the hand to big toe pose. Finish out an exhalation, and you can inhale, face forward again, and help the foot down. So can you imagine doing this standing on one leg, holding your big toe directly? That's the full expression of this pose, but there's many ways to do it modified. Okay, so now right hand has the straps, left foot has the strap on it as well. You're going to raise the leg, and then from the peak height of the thigh, extend the leg. Bring the left hand onto your left hip, and on an exhale, begin to revolve your torso to the left. You can inhale back to center, and then help your leg come down. And before we sit quietly or lie down, I just want you to take a chair, child's pose. So feel free to slide back on that chair a little bit, join your legs and feet. And we want the chest connecting with the thighs to put us in that rest and digest mode, the parasympathetic nervous system. So some of us need to fill the gap with our arms. Otherwise, you can just completely sit forward as long as you have that contact, and let your head dangle, let your arms dangle. Just imagine your spine in one fluid curvature from your brainstem to the very tip of your tailbone. That's why it's called child's pose. It's the shape the spine started in utero. It puts us in a very quiet space, very sensory aware space. And sometimes a wordless space. And slowly begin to come up, rolling yourself up. We're going to do one little breathing exercise, very short and sweet, but just to kind of precursor the final resting pose. So stay seated. If you are going to move into reclining, stay seated for this. So we're going to inhale big arms up and try to match the movement of the arms with your full inhale breath, and then hands meet and we exhale, hands to the heart center. And we're coordinating movement and breath. So waiting at the heart center as long as the breath is finishing out. When you're ready to start the next inhale, lift the arms, try to have the hands meet at the top of that breath. Exhale, you're gonna slowly lower the hands to the heart. So you might close your eyes to really kind of help observe your coordinated breath and movement. And you're just gonna do 3 more. When you get through that last exhale, you can either transition to the floor if that's what you prefer, or you could transition to sitting back and using the back support of your chair now Make sure your legs are directly underneath you. Your hands are back far enough that your shoulders are sitting back above the hips. So this last pose, called corpse pose, is a zero effort pose. So sitting in a chair requires some effort, but just try to minimize any extraneous effort or contraction. It's a simile in yoga. Effort and contraction are the same. And just be the observer, watching breath, watching thoughts float through like clouds passing on a big blank blue sky. Watching sensation in the body. Yoga is very much an editing process, and at this end pose, we sit with whatever remains. We can kind of feel closer to our true essence without all the extra stuff in the way. So if you're able to be a little bit more present now, it's a good sign that what you've done has worked and that you're doing well. If you catch your mind wandering off with a thought or running away with a thought, it might help to just put the thought in some category. We have planning, we have worry, we have rumination, we have all sorts of categories of thought. So it could be a way to help identify the little habits of the mind, help bring yourself back to the here and now. Let's just take a few deep breaths before we open our eyes. It's a nice, slow, gentle way to start to welcome yourself out of the pose. When you're ready, let your eyes blink open, but not really because you have the desire to see anything, just letting the eyes open passively. We'll bring our hands together in front of the heart. Let's just take a big breath in to acknowledge this group that we've been for the past 6 weeks. We're continuing on. We might have some new people. We might have some people leaving. So let's just take a nice deep breath and just kind of honor ourselves as a group, sacred space together. Let's take a deep breath in and let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. Okay. Thank you all for being here. I'll have the link out to you later today, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you back. Feel free to come as often as you'd like, tell your friends, and otherwise find me elsewhere. Stay in touch. Okay, bye you guys.